Aloha, folks. I am Tasha Church with LA Live Action, here to educate, elevate, and advocate for you, helping you get to your next level. And today I have a really awesome person. She is a best-selling author. Her name is Angela J. Ford, and she just recently published a book called Pawn, which I think is very Lord of the Rings-esque. I'm not going to lie. It's like, oh my God, it's amazing. But I'll let you talk a little bit more about that because you can explain it better than like, So, Angela, take it away. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your book, and why you're doing the work that you do.
Yeah, Tasha, thanks so much for having me on. It's really awesome. It's funny because I love getting on video and just like talking with other people. It's so much fun,
Yeah.
especially about books, which I did bring a copy to show off live. It's so pretty. Well, kind of the story behind this book is that I saw the pre-made cover on a Facebook group, and there's a designer. She'll create covers and then ask authors if they want to buy them. And I saw it, and I was like, oh, I have a story for this. I'm gonna get it. And so she kind of has a kind of Wonder Woman vibe about her, and I thought that'd be really fun to write about because usually I do write about female warriors, but I haven't really focused down on just like one warrior in a story and kind of her story, her background, and her history. And I also thought it'd be really fun to do something more of an anti-warrior. So coming from someone who's not this really good heroic character, but will hopefully grow into that, and kind of starting out with, she just does her own thing. She does whatever she wants. And now she's in deep trouble and she has to take a hard look at herself and her situation and figure out what she wants and where she wants to go from there. And so that is the story of Pawn and just how it got started. And I usually don't write kind of like fantasy that edges more on the darker side, but this was something that was really fun to write. And I feel like a few of my stories they're just a little bit deeper and darker now. But I think it's really fun writing that way because when you get to the end, it's just so much more impactful. When you get to the end, you're like, oh wow, just to come through this journey and have all these things happen and then come out the other side and to just have this hope and excitement at the end. So I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it was great. I actually like the little bit darker just because it makes it more real. I've read so many books. I think I've read like over 260 books in the last like year and a half or something crazy like that. I was just nonstop reading. But anyway, what for me a really great book, it has layers, and I think that when you are writing different characters, there's something to be said about a writer who is able to paint a picture of someone who, honestly is very relatable. You could look at that person and, well, you might not be like killing orcs or anything like that. uh, you can see that person and say, okay, I don't know what kind of decision I would make in this circumstance, and I might lean towards one way or another. So I like the fact that it's just not clear cut. Oh, she's a great person. She's the hero. Everyone else is the villain. There's lots of different aspects and facets to this book and all the different characters. I also felt like each type of character, because we have orcs and we have fae and we have magicians, mage people, and then we have humans, and we don't know what Maeve is.
Not yet.
I know, like, oh, what is she? But but they have. I mean, you could literally write a book about each group, and I would find it completely fascinating. Did you want to share a little bit more about that? How you decided about the different characters? Was Lord of the Rings an influencer? What is all that? What did it look like?
Yeah, so I grew up really reading Lord of the Rings kind of type books. I didn't read Lord of the Rings until I was 13, actually. but my dad used to read The Hobbit out loud to me and my sisters, which I have four sisters. So that was really fun growing up. And then also my mom used to read Chronicles of Narnia growing up. So those very kind of like old school, more like British fantasy writers were really who I grew up with. And even one of my other favorites when I was young was Brian Jakes, who wrote the Redwall series,
Oh,
which I think is around 20, 26 books or so. But again, another British author. And so those are really my inspirations. And it was interesting because at that time, there were a lot more of the very male British authors. And so that's who I read. And then once I became a teenager, I started finding, more of the female fantasy authors and reading their work. And it's really interesting to see the differences between them and just how it really inspired me. Like I found that I really love descriptions and very beautiful prose, even though sometimes it can get carried away. So
yeah.
that's really pretty. And I really like the different races. And that's something that I always thought was really cool, having like you have the orcs, you have the fae, and then you have elves, and sometimes you have dark elves and high elves. But it's just very interesting having all these very, very like so completely different races and the things that they think are really important. Like I love more of the nature aspect of elves and kind of how they're so obsessed with like beauty and they're immortal, and so kind of their priorities are a little bit different because they don't have such a short fast lifetime. And so just thinking about that, and then dragons, I mean, dragons are always really popular, but just really trying to create my own kind of race of dragons and then being a little bit different. Just because with dragons are very popular, and I almost feel like there's the group of people that are like, okay, dragons are awesome, we love dragons, but they end up being a little bit too friendly, I think. And so I like to kind of have like, bring back like the big scary dragons, like Game of Thrones, they're going to burn everything down and it's fun. Um, and then also with the Fae, like books about Fae are super popular right now. And I also wanted to write something because I think Fae are interesting, but I wanted to kind of show them from more of a negative point of view. So, of course, Maeve being captured by the Fae and kind of forced to do their dirty work is kind of is pretty negative for her. And so it just shows them in a very negative light. And then there's some twists at the end, which kind of show them in a different light. And so it's just interesting and really fun to write about. And I definitely was inspired by a lot of fantasy books, and I still am inspired by fantasy. And that's something that I love reading, and I love like diving into different worlds and just seeing how different they are and how fun they are. So I think there's a lot to learn from something that's so drastically different from our world, but then still has similarities and a message that we can take home at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So, you talked about really loving the female authors. Which authors are those?
Yeah, so Patricia McKilloch was one of them, and I really love her books. I think my favorite is The Forgotten Beast of El, which is actually it was an inspiration for one of my other series, The Legend of the Nameless One, but really is about this mage that lives up on a mountain and collects beasts, and I love that. And so I also have a story about she's an enchantress who she's kind of searching for her home, but she collects beasts. I just thought that was so cool. And then I also love Juliet Malaner. She wrote a lot of great books, and she has a more of a Celtic kind of theme in her stories, but they're absolutely beautiful. I love that. And then there are a few others. I can't remember their names off the top of my head, but just like more the female authors, they do have a little bit more of the kind of romantic fantasy vibe in there too, which I also really like. But I just love their stories, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I definitely want. I don't see a lot of like female authors in fantasy. I mean, more today than I did growing up, but it's really hard to find those female authors. And if I did find them, they were hiding behind the initials, how they initial their names. And so I was thinking when I started writing, I was like, I don't want to go by AJ Ford and people go like, oh, who is that? We don't know whether that's male or female until we go to their website. I want to go by Angela J. Ford, and then people know, well, this is a female fantasy author right off the bat. And if they go to my website, and then they'll be like, oh, this is a Black female fantasy author too. And so I feel like that little bit of diversity is good. It's just good for people to see that and have that example and know that, hey, like people who look like me can go and they can write and they can be a successful author. That can happen. And so I just really wanted to make sure I was intentional about doing that, just so that I could set that example for people who are looking for more female authors and more diverse female authors too.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's something for me. I've read so many different books, and I really love reading books by women of color. Native. It's nice for me to actually see someone who is successful, who made it, who is out there doing the work that she loves to do, and it's very inspiring. So I really thank you. Um, Now, for all of the different books, like how many books have you written so far?
That I actually have out and published, I would say 13. When I started writing when I was 12, but it was really interesting because I actually wrote and completed stories. Some of them were more dystopian, some of them were more romantic, some of them were more fairy tale like. It was really fun, but as I wrote, I discovered that I really enjoyed fantasy, and fantasy would be what I would write. So I started self-publishing back in 2015, and so far I have 13 books out.
Oh. So, when it comes to self-publishing, I know that there's lots of different platforms and everything that people use. There's, like if you go on Amazon, there's Create Space and different stuff like that. For the aspiring author, do you have any suggestions for them?
Yeah, I would say definitely get with a community of people who do self publish and just a place where you can ask questions and kind of get some guidance. I publish exclusively on Amazon just because it allows me to have higher royalties for two reasons. Amazon really is the biggest market, but then also they have a program called Kindle Unlimited, which for readers is great. I mean, it's like the Netflix of reading. You can just sign up for $9.99 a month and get unlimited access to all the books in Kindle Unlimited. I'm actually a member and I love it because I'm a big reader and I just rip through books. And so it's very helpful for me instead of buying all of them. And then the authors get paid for those page reads, which is helpful for me because I know that I'm going to make income off of the page reads that people are reading when they borrow my books from Kindle Unlimited and read them. And then also from the ebook sales, which is great. And then it also allows me to go ahead and create audiobooks, which I'm trying to get more audiobooks out there because they're fantastic. And I love listening to audiobooks. And so I definitely get that there's some people that they just prefer audiobooks, which are great. And so I've been working really hard on that. And Amazon has a program for that too. So it's just everything in one place and it works out really well.
So for Pawn, I know that the next one is coming out, and it's coming out June 16th. Woo! When is the audiobook coming out?
Yeah, so funny that you asked. My narrator just messaged me. She was like, I really want to get my hands on it. When's it coming? So I will have that over to her the end of next week. And it really depends on Amazon, actually. They had their system slowed down a little bit. And so instead of once an audiobook is completed, it usually just goes through like a quality assurance process with Amazon that might take up to 7 to 14 days. It's been taking closer to 30 to 45 days, which is really tough. So
Wow.
hopefully they are over that hump and they're speeding the process back up again. I hope. But I'm very hopeful that the second book will be out in July on audio.
Okay. Awesome.
So yeah,
Now,
my narrator moves fast, so hopefully it'll be out by then.
that's good. No, she had a great voice. Is it the same one?
Yes, yes, absolutely. She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, she was really on point, and I really like how very realistic she was. Some of the narrators that I listen to, I'm like, oh, you're definitely acting. And it's really nice to have a narrator where it feels like you're in it, in this world, which is really great. Now, you had mentioned delays. Obviously, there's delays for lots of different reasons, but we have a pandemic right now. How are you doing with this? As far as being an author, do you feel like it's helping with your creativity? Is it stifling? What's going on? And what's going on in your neighborhood? Are you still on lockdown? We also have protests going on. Is that affecting your creativity? What's happening?
Yeah, it's been it's just been really something that can mess with you mentally. And with me, I found that as long as I was really plugged into the news and what was going on in the world, like it just really mentally depressed me. And I was like, you know what? I'm at home. It's fine. Everything's good. We have everything we need at home, which is great. And I live with my husband. And then we have a stepdaughter that comes, or my stepdaughter that comes every single weekend, his daughter. And so, we have a lot of fun together and there's no worries at home. And so while we keep a pulse on what's going on, I found that it's super helpful just to shut down the news. And, if there are people that I'm following on social media that are very negative or, um, just very fearful with what's going on, then it's just easier for me to just kind of mute them or unfollow them, just so that I don't have that in my feed when I'm scrolling through, and just really focus on things that are uplifting, that bring me joy, that are exciting. And so it's been different. It's been a lot of learning. So I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm actually in the Nashville area. I have a Nashville address. So since Nashville's so big, it's a little bit slower with the reopening, but we are going through the phases. I think we're still in phase 2, so things are slowly opening. And so I was able to actually go get a haircut yesterday for the first time
That's
in 3 months,
great.
and that felt so good.
Nice.
Even with the restrictions, had to sign a disclaimer, get the temperature taken, just all these things. But still, it was just so nice to have that done and be like, I can have nice hair again. Yay.
That's
But it's been good with writing because my husband and I have a really good schedule, and we really haven't deviated too much from our schedule. We still get up in the morning every single day and eat breakfast together. We eat all our meals together. We still go to bed at a reasonable hour. We still take showers. We still get dressed. Just those different things that really help just make us feel more normal,
yeah.
and not like we're just on a endless vacation. He's not working, but I have a lot of contract work that I do. So my days are pretty busy
Yeah.
and I still find time to write. Like writing is still going. And maybe I'm even finding more time to write, especially on the weekends when I can just sit outside on the back porch and just write and write and write. And it's really fun. And so I'm finding the creativity is still flowing. I can still, I almost have all of my covers for 2021, and I'm really excited about that. I have all the stories in my head. So it's going well. Writing is going well. And I'm still publishing and bringing out books, and I'm seeing there's still the demand for it. Like it hasn't gone away. I think
I feel like there's more of a
April was,
demand right now.
yeah, yeah, like people want to read. They want something to take them away from, what's going on in the world and just all the craziness that's rising up, all the things that are happening. And so I think stories are perfect and there's still a place for them. Like you don't have to go out to find the stories. You can just pull them up on your device and download them right then and there. And I think that's perfect. And so yeah, things are still going really well as an author and I'm still writing, but it just was a matter of just finding my balance and making sure I knew like these are things that will make me feel bad. These are things that will make me feel good. And I'm gonna, shut down the bad and really focus on the good stuff.
Awesome. And so for this next year, you said you already have all of your covers picked out. Do you want to give us a sneak peek of like information about any of these books? Or
Okay, okay, I'll do it. Twist my arm.
a little bit? Yeah.
No, I'm really excited. I am writing a brand new epic fantasy series. It's set in a new world, which I'm really excited about. And I'm pretty sure these books will be a lot longer, which is great. I'll have multiple points of views, but the one I'm working on is there is going to be a librarian. She is a blue fawn. So that will be very fun. There will be a water nymph, and she has green skin. I'll actually do a cover reveal on my Instagram for her very soon because she's very
Ooh.
ecstatic and beautiful and different, and I'm really excited about her. But she's a great spirit. She has a lot of power, a lot of magic, but she had to leave her home under the sea and come on the land for a very specific reason. So she is searching for something, and along the way, she ran into a bounty hunter. So she's traveling along with him, and so he's a very interesting character. He likes to hunt down magical creatures for
Ooh.
specific reasons, but he has a bounty on his head right now, so he's in a lot of trouble.
Oh,
And then there will be other characters. I'm excited. Possibly an elven queen who's off to steal everyone's magic. Just we'll see how it goes, but it's really fun. I'm really excited about it. It might be 3 or 4 books. I'm not quite sure, but that is going to be my passion project for 2021. I'm so excited.
sweet. Oh, I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to inspiration and everything like that, I know for me, I actually have theme songs that I listen to where I'm like, all right, pump yourself up, get ready to go. Do you have a theme song that you would recommend for people if they're trying to get inspired?
I don't know that I necessarily have like a theme song,
Me.
but I do listen to certain music to get me in the mood when I'm
Yeah.
writing. And one of my favorite ones is from the movie Cloud Atlas. It is the Cloud Atlas finale, and it is just so beautiful and haunting. Like it gets me in the mood to write every single time. And it doesn't necessarily get me like my blood pumping or anything, but it kind of makes me feel more like whimsical and thoughtful. And I'm like, I just really want to sit down and write because it is just absolutely beautiful.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, I want to make sure that people are able to find you and also find your work. So, um, you know, social media pages that you want people to go to, YouTube or website, all that kind of stuff. If you could just share, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah. So I update my Instagram pretty regularly, almost every day. My husband has to remind me, but I try. So I'm over on Instagram at a421. And I've never changed my handle because I'm scared to lose all my followers. So I haven't changed it to my name, but that's what it is. But you can also find me online at angelaj4.com, and everything is there. All the links to all my social, all my books. You can sign up for my email list. I email every single week. Yeah, everything's there. So that's kind of the hub for everything. It's really fun. I love writing. And you can see all the artwork, and I just love beautiful artwork.
Ah, well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. I was so excited when you accepted the interview.
Yes.
And yeah, I'd love to have you back on when some of your next books come out. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Wishing you well. And yeah, I look forward to following and learning more.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I think what you're doing is amazing. And thank you. And you're awesome. All
Yay! All right. Well, you have a good one. Aloha.
right. You too.